Another thing that other misconception that we have is your genes determine your fate. How many have you heard, may sakit kang ganyan kasi minana mo yan eh. Right? But that's not true. You may inherit some genes, but the thing is, you don't inherit the disease. Unless, of course, you're born with a sickness. Right? Do you inherit diabetes? You inherit the gene or the potential, maybe for a weakened pancreas, which can develop to diabetes if your diet is wrong. But you do not inherit the disease. Even if you say, oh, cancer runs in the family. Oh yeah, you let the person change and let them have a good lifestyle, they'll never have cancer. Even if everyone in their family has cancer. Because you do not inherit the disease. You inherit a gene, which can be a potential. What do you inherit? The color of your eyes, your height. This is in your genes, your gender, and your basic characteristics. You do not inherit the disease. What you inherit is your parents' habits, their way of life, their way of thinking. If you have this from them and you do this, you'll be like them. Yes? Yes. Okay, you have this. You basically don't have maybe their bad habits. You are basically a positive thinker. And also you moved out of their house, so you have your own style. You don't necessarily get their disease. You inherit their genes, which spell this, but you acquire their habits. So if you do that, you basically will end up having the same disease. Because pare-parehas ang kinakain nyo, pare-parehas the way you think. Yun ang exposure mo, that's your environment. So here, we have something that is fixed in our DNA. That's basically like the steps, right? But you see, the handrail, I call it the handrail, here, you can basically change. So if you want your children to be healthier than you, first you have to make sure that your husband and your wife has to also want to be healthier. So what happens is the steps in this DNA cannot be changed, okay? But you can change the handrail. So if your lifestyle is going to be one that is better, you have better thoughts, you're happy, this becomes stronger and healthier. But if you are a junkie, this one is the one that's going to be weaker, and that's what you give to the next generation. That's why we always say for the children's sake. So it is not the given na ganyan na lang yan. You can improve your genes, and you can also destroy them. That's what they're doing with GMOs, right? So our genes can be affected by the environment and what we do to our bodies. It is not a death sentence that this is what you inherited, tapos. Okay. Now, you all know that I am what they call the grandmother of iridology in the Philippines. It is only through the iris where you find your genetic predispositions. It is only through the iris where you will find which body organs need extra help. Kung saan kayo medyo mahina. And there is no other science that does it. So if you will be able to go to an iridologist that will help you identify the body organs that need help, you can then improve that body organ so your children's children and your children and their children's children would have a better body organ, okay, for whichever is genetically deficient. So I use this. This is basically one of the things that moved me into this field. Okay, so iridology. Just remember, we are the master of our lives and the genes just follow our commands. Do not think that you are, condemned to basically what you have. Okay, every little action that we do affects our genes and it either spells health or disease. So, if your doctor says, kasi minana mo yan, hindi yun totoo. I remember Dr. Jensen, he told us this story in one of our classes. He said a patient went to him and the patient came from another doctor first. And she told this story. Basically, the patient went to this first doctor and said, She was complaining from arthritis on her right knee. And she said, Doc, my right knee is very painful. And the doctor said, oh, that's arthritis. That's going to be normal because you are already, how old are you? 64 years old. Oh, you really have that because you're 64 years old. But the patient said, but doctor, my left knee is also 64 years old. How come it doesn't have the pain? So you see, basically, age is not going to tell you that you're supposed to be sick. Okay, so